Welcome to Dr. Jörn Günther Rare Books. I am Dr. Erin Donovan. Today I am excited to show you an entire collection focused on the art of perspective, which Dr. Jörn Günther has gathered over many years. Perspective is the art of representing the world the way the human eye perceives it. Even many contemporary artists struggle with this concept. How should artists portray what they see accurately? The 15 printed books in this collection were made from the early 16th to the mid-17th century. They include the most groundbreaking works on the science of perspective from Germany, Italy, and France. Several of these books were intended as manuals for artists and students. Some are pure fantasies of architecture and geometry. Among them are several masterpieces of Renaissance art and science. To dive right in, we are pleased to have on offer the very first printed treatise on the concept of linear perspective. Written by Jean Pellerin and published in 1505 as On the Art of Perspective, De Artificiali Perspectiva, Pellerin based his work on the ideas of Leon Battista Alberti. This work is richly illustrated with 37 woodcuts. They introduce the idea of distance and vanishing points for the first time in print. We can see that the illustrations have a sober and almost modern style. Our copy is the first German edition, printed in 1509, and is extremely rare. One of our most exciting and impressive works is a treasure trove unto itself. It is a collection of 3 texts written by the great Renaissance genius Albrecht Dürer, bound together in one volume. Around 1506, Dürer traveled to Italy, where he learned about linear perspective from Italian artists. He then wrote a work called Instruction in Measurement, Unterweisung der Messung, which was a manual for all aspects of an artist's training. It highlights the proper technique for drawing perspective and mathematical proportion. The second work is Dürer's treatise on fortifications and his principal architectural work. His designs were later put to use in several cities, including his own town of Nuremberg. Included in this section is an inserted, famous large woodcut of a fortress under siege, which was made the same year as the text on fortification, but was not original to the book. Considered a masterpiece, the third text on human proportion is called Vier Bücher von menschlicher Proportion. This text calls into question the Italian concept of the ideal human. Dürer was highly interested in the diversity of human form. His texts and the accompanying woodcuts deal with the proportions of adults, children, and bodies in space. Dürer's 3 treatises were extremely influential on the artists who followed him in Nuremberg and elsewhere. For example, one of Dürer's students and a leading woodcut artist, Erhard Schön, published his own small and extremely rare treatise on proportion. As a guide to drawing for students, his Instruction on Proportion was published in 1538 and became very popular. Our copy is from its 3rd edition from 1543. It is so rare because manuals like this were read to pieces and barely survived the centuries. Some artists were less interested in teaching perspective to the next generation. Instead, they preferred to play with creating nearly unthinkable geometric forms. These masters worked in a more mannerist mode, investigating form, perspective, and ornament. Lorenz Störer's Geometria e Perspectiva recalls M.C. Escher's modern optical illusions. The volume shows fantastical landscapes that sizzle with impossible polyhedrons combined with ruins in its 11 full-page woodcuts. The fusion of nature and geometrical forms leaps to the eye like a 20th century surrealist creation. However, Störer formulated his designs using the traditional compass and straight-edge tools, and our first edition copy is from 1567. Our last example among the large collection here is a work created by Wenzel Jamnitzer. He was a leading goldsmith and instrument maker in Nuremberg and served several emperors. He invented a drawing tool that helped to create the illustrations for the edition we see here, Perspectiva. This innovative work from 1568 shows an unbelievable variety of geometrical forms, including the 5 geometrical bodies, the tetrahedron, octahedron, and so on. He begins with the basic forms of these bodies and then builds up to increasingly elaborate variations. The 43 plates for this first edition were all engraved by Jost Ammann, and the text is dedicated to the Emperor Maximilian I. This treatise is regarded as a masterpiece of geometric design, and Jamnitzer is today thought of as a forerunner of conceptual art. These artists and thinkers' work on perspective and proportion changed our concept of aesthetics and even of how and what we see. Their scintillating creations will be shown as a collection at Frieze Masters Art Fair in London, the 3rd to 6th of October. Come see us and ask for a tour. For further information about acquiring this outstanding collection on the art of perspective, please contact Dr. Jörn Günther Rare Books.